What's up, everyone? I'm Valentine. You're watching someone spend way too much time trying to define games intended for 8-year-olds with political ideologies. There are a lot of Nintendo franchises I'm not super familiar with, so here's a diagram showing my familiarity with these series that we're going to discuss. Starting with Mario, he's a blue-collar worker who serves a monarch. I'd argue that he's very right-wing because of his stance against big governments, the Koopa Kingdom, and his participation in conventional currency. He likes nature. Leave him alone. He's just an environmentalist who wants to hang out in the jungle. Breath of the Wild Link is a commission worker slash adventurer. Previously served a monarch, but I'd say his reasoning is more important because he serves Zelda in Breath of the Wild so that he can save all of Hyrule, not just to return the kingdom to its monarchy. And they now realize this, but Hyrule should qualify as an anarchy since there's no actual ruler. Sure, Ganon is there, but it's not like he's establishing any policies, there's no form of law enforcement, and trade is completely merchant-based. Samus works for the federal government and later becomes a bounty hunter. I don't think Dark Samus has free thought. Tax evader. Kirby only cares about food. I think he is neutral in any political opinion that does not involve him receiving food. Fox and Falco work for the military. Wolf is also employed by the military, but by the opposite side during the Lilac Wars. I don't think most Pokemon can have political opinions. The domesticated ones seem to have good intentions when it comes to taking care of their brethren and preventing unnecessary violence. But just so I have something to say here, I want to discuss Detective Pikachu. While I have not played any of the games in this sub-series, I can confidently say he is not an employee of the government, as in he doesn't work with the police at all, which would technically make him a PI, not a detective, because he is not a law enforcer. So this is another commission worker. Also a plumber, but Luigi is rich and owns a mansion because he won the lottery. I don't think a character being a child should defer them from being involved in this conversation, especially when the Earthbound Mother games have a very solidified messages, with Mother 3 being especially political. I will get into that when we talk about Lucas, by the way. But basically, a lot of Earthbound's message is about the individual standing up for what they think is right, even when the situation seems dire, which screams anti-totalitarianism and Western Enlightenment thinkers such as Voltaire, more specifically his ideas on what it means to be an individual. Captain Falcon, sometimes a bounty hunter, another commission worker, yay. But also, I know this is fanon, but I've seen a lot of people online who keep saying he gets his power from Jesus Christ. So I think we should consider that as part of his political background. Another Pokemon. Mushroom Kingdom appears to be an absolute monarchy. Some websites online say it's a constitutional monarchy, but I think that is incorrect because there's no presence of parliament or any other position of power which would limit the sole ruler. Daisy is the ruling monarch of Sarasaland, which is actually a collection of 4 different kingdoms. This makes her land an empire. Again, there is no mention of parliament or governors. While we have a lot less information about Daisy than Peach, I would label her as an absolute monarch as well. Pretty easy to say that Bowser is a dictator. Throughout many games, it's evident that the people who hold power in his government are employees of his own and do not limit his power at all. The Koopa Kingdom has a heavy focus on military power, and many entries in the series see Bowser-centered propaganda. According to the comics, Bowser's dad is Morton Koopa Sr., the previous ruler of the Koopa Kingdom. This means that Bowser is also an absolute monarch. I also think it's very fair to say the Koopa Kingdom is a totalitarian one, which controls the information its citizens can consume. There's not really a lot we know about the Ice Climbers, lore-wise, except that they like to climb and they collect vegetables. The only thing remotely political that I can surmise from them is that by representing the male character with blue and the girl with pink, they subscribe to Western post-1930s perception of gender. I personally consider Sheik to be a completely different character from Zelda, even Ocarina of Time Zelda, so I will treat them as such for this analysis. But the whole GNC stuff aside, as a whole, I will mention that the Sheikah are a society that functions separately from most other races in the Zelda series. They're very secretive and focus heavily on the legacy of their ancestors. Most of Kakariko Village is very agrarian, and while Kakariko itself is not a governing body, there is no visible social or economic hierarchy outside of the village elder. Another monarch. By the way, the Smash trailer that mentions her, they say Zelda is from A Link to the Past. This is wrong. She's actually Zelda from Link Between Worlds. I believe they messed this up because the Japanese name for Link Between Worlds was originally Link to the Past. The Japanese title for Link to the Past is actually Triforce of the Gods. Now that that's out of the way, personality-wise, we don't see much of Zelda in this game. Regardless, the form of government she rules is an ancient monarchy with a subtle caste system. Much like Zelda, we don't see much of Hyrule's economy in this game, but outside of this entry, Hyrule appears to have a thriving economy which relies on the trade of its merchants with an established form of currency. Dr. Mario is just Mario. He doesn't even have a medical license. This means that Mario has been illegally prescribing drugs since 1990 and is therefore liable for persecution. This is a Pokemon. Martha is the sovereign ruler of Altea, another government which relies on an absolute monarchy. Seeing as he served in multiple wars, Martha is a king who also functions as the leading general of his military. All of these people hold power in Elis. Lucina is princess, Chrom is prince and later king, when his older sister, the current ruler during most of Awakening, dies, and Robin is the tactician of their militia, the Shepherds, but can become queen depending on the events of Awakening. Listen, Binding Blade is the only Fire Emblem Smash game I have not played. The wiki is very confusing, but he grew up as an aristocrat. He's not a cat, sorry. He kind of just fights because of his allegiance to certain groups of people, just because he has to, so he's kind of nationalist anyway. Ike is a commoner. However, he momentarily became a lord only to reject the title because a life of luxury and comfort is not for him. Ike literally ends racism. He explicitly values hard work and is maybe gay. This is a very complicated topic that I wish was talked about more in the fandom, but Captain Astronaut has a fantastic video on it, so please check that out. Prince/princess multiple times throughout the events of Fates, they explicitly support pacifism and try to avoid conflict as often as possible. In Fates especially, whenever you quote-unquote defeat an enemy, most of the time they're actually just too exhausted to fight anymore or surrender. As for the individual paths of Fates, Conquest lets you and the Edorian royal family ruling the kingdom as a single unit. Birthright ends pretty much the same way, but with Hoshidan royal family. And finally, Revelations ends with you being the sole ruler of Vala, but also giving counsel to the two remaining kingdoms. Fodlan is an aristocracy. Byleth holds the role of an educator and has the personality of a paper bag. There's almost nothing to analyze here. This is Link from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Link isn't really employed by the government here like he is in other installments of the series. His only real incentive for saving Hyrule as young Link is because of his role as representing the Triforce of Courage. This Link's beliefs are rooted in destiny. Ganondorf is the world's biggest hater. Beginning with Demise, Ganondorf is reincarnated in every generation, literally just so he can cause problems for everybody. But more specifically, this is Ganondorf from Twilight Princess. Like he is in most installments in this series, Ganondorf wants to rule because of his drive for power. He only really values having global political influence. This means he wants to establish an authoritarian rule of his own. Mewtwo hates humans and wants to eliminate every human as well as every Pokemon which supports humanity. This means that Mewtwo is a misanthropic Pokemon fascist. What? He's a knight and lives by a code of chivalry. He even offers Kirby a sword when encountered, so the fight is a fair one. Therefore, Meta Knight believes in equal opportunity. Most of Pit's motivation in Kid Icarus, which is another series I'm just not familiar with at all, and I'm almost solely using the fandom wiki to get this information from, is because he wants to free Palutena. The wiki also says he's a royal guard of Palutena's, which reveals much about his socio-economic standing. As a doppelganger, Dark Pit is an entity and not his own individual person. Very greedy, Wario, based on his actions, I would assume he would thrive the greatest in a capitalist economy based on involuntary exchange, as his avarice sees no bounds, and money is really the only thing he values. Snake fights for change. The reason why he's against the Metal Gears is so the world is a safer place. Even though the lore of MGS is much more complicated than this, the theme kind of revolves around peace and what that really means in the modern age. Pokemon Trainer is you. You are Pokemon Trainer. Pro Firearms. Mother 3 is an anti-consumer story, and Lucas is a communist. The only thing Sonic hates is oppression. King Dedede is another tax evader, and I'm not even joking this time. Communist. Pokemon. That is a robot. At first, I wrote multiple paragraphs about how Wind Waker is a metaphor for libertarian conservatism and the American interpretation of equal opportunity. And I think I'm reading too hard into this, guys. I decided that Toon Link is he's just a little dude, I decided. Animal Crossing exists in a capitalist society without consequences. You are in debt, and that does not matter. Again, Mega Man, I am not familiar with the lore at all, but a lot of things online say there is a story, but it's more of a backdrop for the action and the gameplay. That being said, Mega Man is an android, not a robot, and therefore can have independent thought. If anybody wants to add to this and the 5-sentence long story synopsis of the series, then please give me your interpretation down below and I will pin it. Rosalina is not a monarch for most of the game, she's kind of just there. There's a lot I have to say about this game, culturally, but for now I'm just going to stick to the fact that Little Mac is the underdog of this story. The point of Punch-Out! Is fighting opponents who are much stronger and more experienced than him. It is a story about equal opportunity. This is a Pokemon. Mii fighters are the personification of you in Smash, so they believe whatever you do. She's royalty, I guess. It's not that she's a shallow character, she just doesn't have a lot to her. Just as you'd expect, she's a benevolent ruler, but there's not a lot to consider when it comes to her kingdom's form of government, economy, or culture. Xenoblade lore is so complicated, dude. I played a little bit of Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Wii U, but I don't even want to touch this franchise any more than I have to. As far as I can tell from the fandom wiki and some Reddit posts about him, Shulk seems to have the personality of a generic shonen protagonist. He values friendship and is a little silly. He's an individualist, but not very individual. If you think I missed anything of importance, again, please put it down in the comments. Nepo baby. Bowser Jr. has been handed everything in life. This is an animal. Ryu is very dedicated to his craft. I don't think he really concerns himself with politics, as they won't forward his martial arts skills. Ken, however, is a family man. He's also never really had to work a day in his life outside of martial arts training, because all of his money was inherited from his dad's conglomerate. Him getting involved in martial arts was kind of like his way of not becoming a greedy Nepo baby, just like Bowser Jr. Cloud is a mercenary, so we have another commission worker. If you've played FF7, you know that he starts the game only caring about when he'll get paid. The closer to the end of the game, you and your party are really just fighting against big government, environmental terrorists, feminist icon. Bayonetta politically identifies as mother. Mary Wollstonecraft walked so Bayonetta could serve. Seeing as Inkling isn't really a specific character, but rather a member of the society that Splatoon takes place in, I'll instead comment on the culture of Splatoon, rather than a specific character's ideology. According to the fandom wiki, there's a parliament with a House of Representatives. The society itself is built on social democracy, not so different from some Western countries in the real world. Evidently, there is a free market economy, as seen from the many shopping districts and the socio-economic hierarchy, with bosses like Mr. Grizz. I assumed that Ridley was just a silly little space dragon guy, but I guess he's actually an extraterrestrial pirate, so I guess he falls under the same category of involuntary exchange as Wario. Simon and Richter fight spooky monsters. They fight Dracula, not because he's so scary, spooky, evil, but because he's super corrupted after the death of his wife and hates humans. So Simon and Richter are rebelling against him. They are anti-institutional baddies. Thrives on involuntary exchange. Government employee, we already discussed the form of government in Animal Crossing. This is Pokemon, this is a plant. A lot of Persona 5 is about standing up for what you think is right. What else is new? Easy diagnosis, if he has a personality. Joker believes in individualism. Probably. Dragon Quest is weirdly environmentalist. It discusses living with nature in contrast to the human desire to control your surroundings. Pretty sure that Banjo-Kazooie falls into the same category as Mega Man, where the story is kind of just like a backdrop for the game. The game design is what people really played the series for. So yeah. In Final Fight, Terry leads a group of vigilantes in an attempt to fight the gangs and corruption of Metro City. This means that the people of Metro City cannot rely on their law enforcement and instead have to rely on vigilantism to solve their issues. The characters in ARMS kind of function like athletes in that they have sponsorships and things like that. Well, it would be easy to reduce Min Min to, an athlete who thrives in Western consumerism. She actually fights to promote her family's ramen business. In ARMS, some are born with powers, and others get the kind of body modification in order to fight. My brain just exploded for a minute there. Anyway, so the Society of ARMS believes in equal opportunity. I'm not going to get into it anymore because that's really all we need, but you'd be shocked by how much ARMS lore there is. Speaking of lore, a lot of Kingdom Hearts is about nature versus nurture in the context of whether or not people are inherently good. It's about how friendship can solve anything. No one's really evil, right? They just need a good friend. If you were to ask Kingdom Hearts where it lands on the political spectrum, it would say that it just wants everyone to get along. Its political beliefs are, world peace would be pretty cool. If you have not seen the ending of Minecraft, please find it on YouTube or play it for yourself, because oh my gosh, this poem ruined and then fixed my life for me. I am a completely different person now. But basically, in Minecraft you start with virtually no supplies, but endless possibilities. There isn't an established form of civilization outside of the villagers. If they have a form of government, it would most likely be similar to Mesopotamian city-states. The main reason why Sephiroth is evil is because he thinks he's some kind of chosen one. He thinks he is of more worth than anyone else because of the opportunities he has been given. He's an amazing fighter because he's been trained this way since birth. He's privileged and think he has earned what he's been given. I diagnose Sephiroth as a Nepo baby. Pyra and Mithra have like no personality, but they are polygamous, so I think that counts into this analysis. Finally, that guy. I have not played Tekken. It scares me, but the wiki says he likes power. Guys, I don't think I should try to apply politics to this one, or else it'll be Wind Waker all over again. So thank you for watching! Please subscribe, let me know if you want more videos like this in the future. I haven't uploaded in a while because I've been working on a few different projects, but for now, I have a little bit more free time to dedicate to YouTube. So please like, subscribe, let me know your opinions in the comments, since I'm sure there's a lot of things that I have missed, because there's just so much in the Smash Brothers. It would take so long to go through absolutely every piece of media related to every single character. So if you like this, please let me know. And you know what? Have a nice day. You deserve it.